Yeah, you now locked in with the best. We ain't rocking with the rest. And when it's game time, we gon' put you to the test. Come the ball, we hitting it, kicking it, or we dribbling, passing it, or we running, or it's the ring that we flip you in. So what's the news? You want the scoop? You gotta keep it locked to David Max podcast through your speaker box. What's poppin', my friend? You know the drop in. And the only thing left to do is keep it locked in.
Hello, world.
We may be cousins. We may act like brothers. One thing we do know is we know sports. You are now listening to Locked In with Max and Dave.
Woo! I know you heard that intro. You're not just listening to Max and Dave. You're going to be listening to the music from Max and Dave. We got our own soundtrack. We're like Space Jam now, cuzzo.
He's going platinum.
J. Claude.
You say I put people on the hot seat. I speak things into existence. You can call me Mystic Mike like Conor McGregor. I put people on a hot seat. I have high expectations. This man, I recognize talent. You say you recognize talent. I'm recognizing talent right here, folks. I could listen to that song over and over again. Special thank you.
Special thanks, James, my main man, J. Claude. Check him out on Instagram at jclaude37. Also, guys, his album is on iTunes. It's called The Journey. That's what Max and Dave are on. We're on the journey with J. Claude. One man helping another rise to the top. And talking about rising like a phoenix. Our man, the main man for the Phoenix Suns, will be on the Locked In episode. We're going to talk about Devin Booker, Kyrie Irving. Is he going or coming, guys? We got breaking news for you on this episode. Check it out.
This episode is breaking. It is breaking boundaries. We continue to move forward. We continue to progress. We have an absolute pleasure to have this man on this show. He is an extraordinary guest representing the Phoenix Suns. Gerald Bourguet, editor-in-chief of the Phoenix Suns, lead reporter. For Hoops Habit, part of the Fan-Sided Network, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on the Locked In.
Thanks for having me.
Let's jump right into it. Kyrie Irving, he is obviously the center talk of the league right now, leaving the Cavaliers, leaving LeBron James. What's going on over there in Phoenix? Because his name has been the huge rumor mill over there. What's going on there? What's the inside scoop?
Right. So, I mean, if you look around the league, especially with free agency dying down and all the big names off the board, a lot of teams have already addressed their point guard position, either with a new free agency signing or drafting someone, in a draft class that was pretty heavy at the top on point guards. Mm-hmm. So there aren't as many destinations for Kyrie Irving as you would expect, given what he's accomplished at only 25 years old. If you look at the Phoenix Suns, they make sense as a theoretical trade partner, especially for a team like the Cavs that needs a mixed return of both established talent to help LeBron win and convince him to stay when he hits free agency next summer, but then also, young players and draft picks to kind of restock the cupboard in the event that he does leave, and then the Cavs are left without him and Kyrie. Mm-hmm. And the Suns, they have that mix of both established talent with guys like Eric Bledsoe, maybe a useful stretch four like Jared Dudley, and then they've also got those future picks and a bunch of young players to choose from. So on paper, the Suns seem like a very good possible trade candidate for Kyrie Irving.
Okay, and I say here is my opinion, Eric Bledsoe has been injury prone. I feel if the Cavaliers, obviously I feel the Cavaliers are going to lose any trade if you give up Kyrie Irving. But that being said, I feel if you can get Eric Bledsoe in return, I feel that Josh Jackson would be the best bet for the Cleveland Cavaliers just because he plays defense, he's young, he's athletic, can help almost I'm not saying he'll stop Kevin Durant because I don't think anybody in this league stops Kevin Durant, but almost contain him a little bit more. Is there any chance they would give up Eric Bledsoe and Josh Jackson?
Well, as you mentioned, I mean, Bledsoe would be the centerpiece in a trade like that. His contract makes the most sense. He doesn't really fit the Suns' timeline anyway. And, he's a very good player who would help LeBron win now. He's probably the best point guard that they could get in a Kyrie Irving trade right now. As far as Josh Jackson goes, though, that is kind of the sticking point, and it's probably the reason that a deal hasn't gotten done, is that the Suns have told Josh Jackson that he's off limits, that he's not going anywhere. They were ecstatic when he fell to them at number 4 in the draft. They were a little concerned that the Celtics might scoop him up at number 3. And he's a very good two-way wing who, as you mentioned, would definitely help the Cavs. I mean, he'd help the Cavs next year, and he would be a possible centerpiece for them moving forward, depending on what happens with Kyrie and LeBron. So, an offer of Eric Bledsoe and Josh Jackson is exactly what the Cavs should push for, but it's also understandable why the Suns would neglect to include him in a deal.
Okay, that makes sense.
That sounds good. Hey, this is Dave, Max and Dave. Max is LeBron James. I'm Kyrie. He's definitely the lead star. Question for you. So they have been tanking, having down seasons 3-4 years in a row. And now they do have a Devin Booker, a Josh Jackson, 2, I think, great centerpieces, young, talented defenders, shooters. Is it time for Phoenix to make a trade like this, to be aggressive, to get a veteran like Kyrie Irving? And it is funny to call Kyrie Irving, 25 years old, a veteran. But in your opinion, is it time to go for it? It's a trade 2 or 3 young players, maybe even TJ Warren in there. Do you think it's time to go for a Kyrie or go heavy into free agency?
Right. Well, I mean, on paper, you can definitely see the benefits of trading for someone like Kyrie. The Suns haven't been to the playoffs in 7 years, which is a franchise-long drought. They haven't won a championship. This is going to be their 50th season, which is the most in the NBA without winning a title. The fans out here are ready for a return to glory because this is the 4th winningest franchise of all time. A lot of people don't even know that about the Suns, but
wow, that's crazy.
This franchise is used to winning, and they do. Fans are getting tired of seeing the same old thing, even if this is only like year 2 of the full-scale rebuild through youth that they've recently undertaken. McDonough's first few years on the job were building from the middle up, and it didn't work. It fell apart every single time. So this is a new approach. Kyrie definitely fits with that timeline. He's only 25. He's an NBA champion. When he gets going, he's one of the best scorers in the NBA. But from my perspective, I really don't see a deal happening here just because the Suns aren't willing to include Josh Jackson, and nor should they. And, there were reports that they were considering trading Dragon Bender as well. Now, a lot of people looked at Dragon Bender's rookie season and saw, the numbers that he put up that were not good at all.
Sure, yeah.
And it was easy to write him off. But he was the youngest player in the NBA. He's still only 19, 20 years old. And he has a lot of potential as a playmaker, as a versatile defender, those multi-positional bigs that the NBA is craving these days. Bender wouldn't really help the Cavs, but he's someone whose name has come up in these trade talks. And unless the Cavs are willing to accept something like Eric Bledsoe, TJ Warren, and one of those extra Miami picks that the Suns have,
yep,
I don't see a deal coming to fruition. And mostly because, Kyrie gave his list of preferred trade destinations. The Suns weren't one of them, which is concerning because he can opt out 2 seasons from now and be a free agent. So for the Suns to give up a critical piece of their future like Bender or Jackson or even Marquise Chris to a certain degree, that's very risky considering he could be a 2-year rental.
And the thing is, I feel like Kyrie Irving has put himself in such a weird situation that he says he does not want to commit to any team long term. So which team would want to invest everything they have to get Kyrie Irving when they don't even know if he's going to stay? It's almost like the Paul George situation. There's the rumor they will be there for 1 year and then go to the Los Angeles Lakers. Do you think that really hurts Kyrie in this situation?
I do. It's a very unique trade situation that we're dealing with here because not only is he not willing to commit long term to whatever team trades for him, but he already has enough not question marks, but sort of flaws to his game and his personality that would make a team hesitant to trade for him. Like he is he is in the ideal situation right now, playing with someone like LeBron James, playing on a title contender. And, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be the Batman this time around, but it is a little curious to see, think about, well, what kind of team can you put around him with him as the alpha where it's going to work? Because he doesn't play great defense. He doesn't really even try on defense until the playoffs roll around.
Totally agree.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree. Kyrie plays less defense than my 4.5-year-old son here in town.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's very disheartening. And to hear him say he wants to be the guy, he wants to be the leader, you look at the teams on off numbers with him on and LeBron off, they're not great. You look at his record with the Cavs before LeBron came back, it's really bad. And obviously that was a very different team. But, you look at a team like the Suns and picture him coming here and being the alpha male around a bunch of players who also don't play defense and are very young. Like, it's hard to see that working out. Him and Devin Booker would be the worst defensive backcourt in the league by a mile. And for as much points as they'd score, they'd give that up on the other end. So it's
they'd be like Portland.
With as often as he shoots, that's a problem for a bunch of young players who are trying to grow into their roles. Like, it's just not a good mix, and that kind of potential bad blood, they would only have 2 years to convince him to stay. I don't see the team winning very much in order to do so.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Okay, we have like 3-4 questions. We'll definitely hit with you. Let's leave the Kyrie Irving. He's not a Phoenix Sun member yet, and we don't know if he will. But we have one broad idea. The Locked In podcast. We're just not a podcast that just listens to other people and kind of goes and says the same thing over and over again. So we have an idea, and it stops, we believe, tanking. We think it stops mobility. All the free agents, how NBA players are literally bouncing all over the league. Our idea is this. We, like college football or college basketball, how the best players select, hey, if you're the best point guard in the world, you go to Kentucky. If you're the best 3 or 4 in the world, you go to Duke. Our idea is, what happens if the NBA lets the college players decide where they want to play? So maybe like Josh Jackson, let's just call a spade a spade. Maybe he didn't want to play in Phoenix. Maybe he's an East Coast guy. Maybe he would want to play for Boston. But of course, all salary caps stay intact. Only one player in the first round can go to a team, so not 4 players from Kentucky can go to Chicago. What do you think of our idea, or do you understand our point on let the kids decide where they want to play basketball?
Right, and it's an interesting idea because it would definitely, you would see some potential dynasties happen that way.
Sure.
And it would give more power to the players, and it would be fair. It would stop rewarding teams for perpetual, mistakes and being dysfunctional. Prioritize winning again. Prioritize
absolutely
putting the right people in the right places. The only problem with that is, as we've seen over the last few years, sometimes franchises do all the right things. They fall short of winning a title for whatever reason, and their star player bolts in free agency. With that kind of system, in those events, sometimes teams don't deserve that fall from grace, but they fall anyway.
Sure.
And in those situations, it would be hard to convince teams or convince players, young talent, to sort of, go to Minnesota, for example, or, go to Indiana even. And I feel like that would be a really fun thing, especially, if teams just signed rookies into salary cap space like they would for free agency. But, it would also create the scenario where the same teams are good over and over again because, what rookie wouldn't want to sign with the Golden State Warriors and, win a championship their first season or something like that. There's definitely a lot of pros and cons, but I see the merits of such a switch.
Thank you.
I have to interject something. So you mentioned what player would want to go to a Minnesota or wouldn't want to just go to Golden State. If Josh Jackson was, like, let's just use Josh Jackson, for example. We've been using him all show. he wouldn't want to go to a Golden State because he would never touch the floor. If he goes to Minnesota, for example, well, there's Andrew Wiggins. But if he goes to a team that doesn't have that star power, he then becomes that star. He touches the floor more. It's just like in a pickup game. If you're playing pickup outside and there's just a loaded team and you want to hop on that team, you know you're not going to get the ball as much. So I feel players would almost go to that Phoenix. They would go to Orlando, places that don't have a star because now they are the star. Just how Kyrie wants to go to Phoenix from the Cleveland Cavaliers, you don't think it makes sense, but have you just mentioned Kyrie wants to be that Batman. So I think players coming out of college would want to take that step.
And second, also the second point is I'm a business guy. I love great businesses, McDonald's, Apple, Alabama football. It drives me crazy that the Philadelphia 76ers can tank and tell the world we are tanking. Trust us. Trust the process. And they'll just get first pick after first pick after first pick. They get rewarded for being bad. Again, my kid, I'm going to bring him up again. If he's bad, I don't give him another ice cream cone. I put him in timeout. So I think that would help the tanking in the NBA and really promote good play, smart business decisions, and building your team up the right way.
Right, and that's totally understandable because the way that Hinkie did it, you every year you see teams, rest key players down the stretch and things like that, but the 76ers actively made their roster bad for the entire season.
Yeah.
They intentionally made their roster really bad so they would continue to get good picks. And there's something to be said about taking away from the competitive nature of the game. But the counter argument there would be, if tanking is going to continue this way, a lot of teams, fans kind of get in on it by season's end. There's obviously the large contingent of people that hate tanking, but it's kind of becoming a growing thing where it's sort of fun to cheer for your team to move up in the draft lottery. Yeah. It's the most bizarre thing, and I'm not sure it's a good thing, but it is definitely an entertaining element that it brings to the table that I don't think a lot of people have expected.
Good point.
People in Phoenix were rooting for the Suns, to lose every game down the stretch after they shut Bledsoe down. And were devastated when they fell to number 4 on draft lottery night. So it's kind of an interesting scenario, and there are definite pros and cons to each side of the coin.
Now I got to ask Gerald, why is Phoenix the Kentucky West? We see Tyler Ulis, obviously Devin Booker, Eric Bledsoe. What is attracting? How is this happening?
It really is McDonough, honestly. He just loves those Kentucky guards. Every draft, he makes a joke or two about, we would like this guy, Kentucky guard. We didn't have enough. We didn't think we had enough Kentucky guards. But
you could only play 2 at a time there.
Yeah, I know. It's hilarious. He traded for Bledsoe. He drafted Booker. He drafted Tyler Ulis, who is Devin Booker's friend.
Yeah.
It's and then there was the Brandon Knight trade, all Kentucky guards. They had Archie Goodwin at one point, another Kentucky guard. I think he has a great respect for that program and for Coach Cal and especially the talent that comes out of that guard position from that school. And, since Bledsoe, his future is not set in stone here, and since Booker is panning out, they just like to go for those Kentucky guards, I guess.
Yeah, it's not a bad scenario to go to a college team like Kentucky. It's not like they're going for Utah State's players.
I could make the case. Everyone seems to throw it out there that Kentucky players aren't winning players. It almost seems like the Phoenix Suns are a perfect example of that. I'm a huge fan of Devin Booker, and I think the Phoenix Suns are in a positive direction. But the Phoenix Suns seem to be that example that Kentucky just are not winning players in the NBA.
Right. I mean, I would say that applies to probably Bledsoe for sure, which is not entirely his fault given the teams that he's played with. The best team that he's had was his first year with Goran Dragic when that team won 48 games, which was the second most in NBA history to not be good enough for the playoffs. So it is – Bledsoe's kind of like the star in a lost era for the Suns, all these build to the middle attempts, and he's really good, but he just is not that next tier to get a team to the playoffs by himself,
Yeah,
and that definitely applies to what you're saying.
Okay. Do you think Josh Jackson will stunt TJ Warren's growth?
That's an interesting question. TJ Warren's kind of the forgotten man in the mix of all this.
I like him a lot. I think TJ Warren's underrated.
Yeah, I mean, he got off to a great start last season. He had that minor head injury that was kind of mysterious, and the Suns never really clarified what happened. And it threw him off. He was out for a couple weeks, and it threw off his game until like down the stretch after the All-Star break when the young guys started getting minutes, and he closed the season strong. But, when people talk about Phoenix's young core, his name is only kind of included as like an honorable mention type thing. And he's due for a contract extension before the season starts if the Suns so choose. And I'm not really sure if they're going to, especially after drafting Jackson.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if he's even starting. Like, he'll probably start at the beginning of the season, but I'm not sure if he'll hold on to that job by the time, All-Star break rolls around.
Gotcha. Now, a couple more questions for you. Starting to wind down towards the end here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining Locked In. Is Alex Len officially a bust? The question has to be asked.
I don't know if I'd go as far as saying officially. And I think this next contract will determine that. The value and the number of years that he winds up signing for, if they even give him anything other than the qualifying offer. He's a tough situation because, his rookie season, he was injured. It seemed like every season there was something in his way. Like his rookie season, he was injured. I think his second season was like when Miles Plumlee decided he wanted to be good and was a starter for that one season. And then they brought in Tyson Chandler to mentor him, which is great, except they never made the switch to him starting at center. The longest time he's been starting at center since his second year was like this past year after the All-Star break when they shut Tyson Chandler down.
Yeah.
Which, they needed to have him starting over Chandler at the beginning of this season because they were entering it with very low expectations. They knew this season was all about getting the young guys minutes, and it took them a little too long to make that jump full time. I think Alex Len can be a serviceable center. I don't think he's obviously never going to live up to his billing as a top 5 pick.
Yeah, 5th pick of the draft.
Agreed.
Yeah, number 5 pick in that draft. And, I'm pretty sure Nerlens Noel went to the Sixers after that. And it's kind of funny that they're both in this stalemate of restricted free agency with their respective teams. But if they're expecting Alex Len to be a top 10 center, he's not going to be that. If he's going to be a cheap, serviceable guy who can, defend the rim, maybe knock down an elbow jumper every now and then, I think he can be that. But, yeah, he'll definitely be labeled draft bust depending on what happens with this next contract and how he does this upcoming season.
I'm going to beg the Phoenix Suns, just don't give him Mozgov money. Just whatever you do, you can't give that man Mozgov money.
Oh, no.
Okay.
A lot of people are saying he should be signed for something in the ballpark that Alan Williams just signed for, which was, a 3-year deal worth $17 million. And the last 2 years are fully non-guaranteed. So he's only on the books for 1 year, really. I think Len, the money just dried up so fast this summer. So the Suns don't have to bid against anyone, which is funny because neither did the Lakers when they signed that stupid Mozgov deal. But yeah, I think McDonough knows that Len is, not a guy you want to sign to big money or to even big years necessarily. I think at this rate, it's either going to be a very cheap team-friendly deal for like 3 seasons, or they're going to, play out this season on the qualifying offer and see what they have heading into next summer.
Okay. Nice. Very nice. All right. What is your thoughts? What's your forecast on the Phoenix Suns' upcoming season?
I think it's going to be a lot of what we saw last season, down the stretch, especially when the young guys played a lot. Bledsoe's going to do his best to help this team win games, but I think we could be looking at a situation where he's traded by the deadline, especially if he's still healthy. He's been healthy 2 out of the last 3 seasons, but as you mentioned, that injury proneness is a very real thing, and his trade value is not going to get any higher from here. Like, if the Suns are going to cash in and try and find a new franchise point guard, they need to do so sooner rather than later. So I think he could be traded. I think Tyson Chandler could be traded because he had said he was going to reevaluate his future with the Suns because, they wanted to trade him last deadline, and he told them he wanted to stay and be a mentor with his new, he developed a really close bond with these players. I think they're probably going to win somewhere in the ballpark of 25, 30 games, maybe. I think Josh Jackson takes over the starting job for TJ Warren, and I don't think a Kyrie Irving trade is coming. So those would probably be my biggest predictions.
Wow. That's breaking news right there.
Gerald, I really appreciate you being a straight shooter, being very honest. I know you represent the Phoenix Suns, but your answers were terrific, the absolute truth. Gerald Bourguet, editor-in-chief of the Phoenix Suns, lead reporter for Hoops Habit, part of the Fanside Network. It is an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining Locked In. Hope to have you on real soon.
And if you have anything you want to plug or anything off your chest, or you have any funny jokes or anything you want, the floor is yours, my man.
No funny jokes. I hope everyone enjoys Game of Thrones tonight. That's what I'll probably be doing next.
Yes.
If you want to check my workout, go to hoopshabit.com, or on Twitter, it's at GeraldBourguet. And thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Go Jon Snow.
Thank you, sir. Wow. He was an absolute amazing guest. Just so factual, so smart. What I loved about him is he gave it real. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He represents the Phoenix Suns, but he gave us the truth.
You know what I like about him? He likes Game of Thrones. He's a Jon Snow fan. He's on my top 5 list. Gerald is locked in.
Like him better already just because of the Game of Thrones. Who knows what else he likes now?
I kind of want to invite him to my son's birthday party. That's how much I like this man.
I'm feeling the Mayweather-McGregor invitation, maybe.
Wow. If he can fly from Phoenix to Port Orange, you have a ticket in my living room. I will even let you sit in my chair. Like, the chair.
You mentioned ticket. You mentioned Port Orange. I think this all kind of blends together.
I like where you're
August
going.
10th, tickets are $5 at Thank You 5, Port Orange, Florida. Locked In live event number 2. We have amazing guests. Anderson Hutchison fights for Titan.
The Superman.
And Pete White, his boxing MMA coach. Pete White Boxing and MMA Gym in Port Orange, Florida. We have 2 amazing guests joining us live. Locked In event number 2, Port Orange, Florida. Thank You 5. Tickets are $5 at 7 p.m. August 10th.
And you know what I like about it so much? This Thursday, when we get locked in, Pete White and Anderson, they're just great people. When we were in the gym over there at Pete White's gym, it was so positive. You see a brotherhood. You see a foundation of just good people, smiles, just like Max and I. We laugh, we have fun. Then we go to Thank You 5. Everyone there is so gracious. We are surrounding ourselves with good people. We know where we want to be one day, and we will surround ourselves with great people because I know Anderson will be big one day. I know Pete White will be bigger than what he even is already. They also have another event coming on August 12th, this Saturday at the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach. They have multiple fighters fighting there. Guys, come out and support them. They are great people doing big things here in our backyard. Unbelievable. Ocean Center, Daytona Beach.
We may make an appearance. We have to support everybody that supports us. Dave, I see a common trait amongst all successful people is they are extremely hardworking and they're passionate about what they do. When we interviewed Coach Howard,
and they usually have great hair.
Yeah, like the Van Auken jeans we have over here. But when we interviewed Coach Howard, you could just see the passion that he had for his students in the last Locked In Live event. Thank you, everyone who came. Hope to see those same faces and even more August 10th, this Thursday. But they have a passion for it. When we went into that gym, we saw the passion Pete had for the gym. We saw the passion Anderson had for his upcoming fight. The passion everybody had just hitting that heavy bag. The local person coming in would say, it's a hot gym and they're sweating. But these guys have passion for what they do. Everybody check it out. It's a family environment. They come and they support you. They're very helpful, very, what's the word? Like, it's a fighting gym, but it's a family. It's like a family unit in there. So everybody check out Pete White's gym, boxing and MMA.
Yeah, much love to John. Remember, John was the one that was jabbing you there, Max, a little bit. He had a little turn, a little left.
I don't want to give anything away just because live locked-in event August 10th will have all the riches. But after 6 years of not sparring, I must say I may have to make a comeback.
Let's get it. Talking about making a comeback. UFC, August 10th. Dave and Max are coming back to Thank You 5 in Port Orange, Florida. We're going to start at 7 o'clock. We're going to start at 7:02. We want to make sure everyone gets there, get your meals before, get a couple drinks in you. We're going to have a great night. Max, I'm almost done. You want to get locked in real quick?
I always want to get locked in.
All right, let's get locked in.
The floor is yours.
I'll take it. It's the Phoenix Suns episode. We are so thankful for having Gerald on it. So I'm going to get locked in with the Phoenix Suns. I was thinking about so many different avenues this team can go. But my locked in is Eric Bledsoe will be traded this upcoming season. Maybe not for Kyrie Irving. I'm not going that route. But maybe during the regular season, maybe getting traded to San Antonio if Tony Parker doesn't work out. How about to another Western team like Minnesota? How about throw him east? Maybe he does get traded to Cleveland halfway during the year. My locked in, Eric Bledsoe gets traded from the Phoenix Suns this upcoming season.
Wow. That's a great locked in.
That's just facts.
Quick error with it. If you listen to the interview, Dave, that we just had with Gerald, he doesn't think Eric Bledsoe is going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I think I may have to go Gerald's word over yours on this one.
He said not for Kyrie Irving. But what happened if he gets traded to the Cavs for Amon Shumpert?
Touche.
But
okay.
no, Gerald's right. I'm giving him love.
I'll move on to my locked in. My locked in for today's show, an amazing show, by the way. Everybody check it out on Locked In, 2 N's on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. I may get a little hate, a little feedback on this one. Devin Booker will not be an all-star this upcoming season. I feel he had a spectacular season last season. But if you look at the guards and the competition he has in the West, people expect him to take that jump, which he may, but he's not taking that jump over James Harden, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler, Paul George. The list goes on and on and on. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum. I could keep going. He will not be an all-star next year. That's locked in.
Wow. And that's no slight for Devin Booker. We are Devin Booker guys. You know me, Max. I'm a Devin Booker guy when he got drafted from Phoenix. He's an unbelievable player, an unbelievable talent. Hopefully he'll get locked in soon enough with us. But, Max, I think we're out. Guys, check us out on Facebook. Like our page, the Locked In Sports Podcast, Instagram, Twitter, everything. And also, you can always come after me at David Van Auken. Spell it correctly. Max, hit him.
We have breaking news. I have officially changed my Twitter handle on social media. It is no longer It's Max with 3 Z's _ Max. It is professional. It is Max _ Van _ Auken, AUKEN. Find me on Twitter, Max Van Auken.
Wait, you changed your Twitter handle and not even tell me? Like,
Dave,
this should have led the podcast.
Are you trying to stand me up in front of all of our viewers? You helped me decide what my Twitter handle should be.
Once a helper, always a helper. All right, guys, stay locked in.
Yeah, you now locked in with the best. We ain't rocking with the rest. And when it's game time, we gon' put you to the test. Come to ball, we hitting it, kicking it, though. We dribbling, passing it, though. We running over the ring that we flip you in. So what's the news? You want the scoop? You gotta keep it locked to David Max podcast through your speaker box. What's poppin', my friend? You know the drop in. The only thing left to do is keep it locked in.